Okay, you got some feedback there, Roy. Welcome once again to the Cow Report. I'm your host. You got the master on, Roy. Okay, we're trying to get back to normal here after the big weekend auction here at Public Access. Of course, I'm your host, Chuck Lee, and this is the Election Eve 1996, November 4th, Election Eve Special. And of course, I'm your host, Chuck Lee, and with me, as usual, under very diverse and travailous circumstances, is the one and only, the man of the hour, Fred the Truth Stafford.
Howdy.
Way to be, Fred. And now, Fred, we've been on the show together for what now, 20, 25, 30 years?
Well, I have only been here 30 years or so, and I wasn't on the show then.
Okay, well, as you know, last time we were on, we had an all-points bulletin out for you. We had people looking in every direction. We had people we even had people up on the North Pole in the icebreakers looking for you.
Yeah.
Some people said they saw you fishing for carp, and other people said they saw you down in Skid Row in Chicago, and a couple said they saw you on Water Street in the bars with all the teenagers dancing, doing the macaroni over there, and all that other stuff. So that's all the rumors, Fred. So what's the real deal? Where were you?
I was in the hospital.
Yeah, what were you doing over there?
Well, I had a slight stroke, and I was up in the hospital being checked out. I spent about 11 days in the hospital.
So you mean tell me that while we were looking for you here, you were holed up down there at the hospital watching the show, and you didn't even tell us?
I didn't watch the show, to be very frank with you.
Well, you don't have to be frank with me. I'll just be Chuck. All right, Fred. Anyway, as you know, we also, inside of the Cow Report, we also have our annual or our semi-monthly meeting of the Loyal Order of the Raccoons.
You do.
And one of these days, we're hoping you'll join. So I bring this session of the Loyal Order of Raccoons to order. And I got to get my glasses here, Fred. I can't read a thing. And boy, we've been getting the email. You know it? Been getting a lot of email. And thanks to Roy Rogers Hoff, great-great-grandson of Cochise on one side and Sitting Bull on the other, we got this machine up and running. Is that true, Roy? All right, Roy shakes his head. He's a man of few words. Of course, you're viewing our beautiful Cow Report studio here that Fred will, anytime you want to come down here and take a tour, if he's not...
I resign from the school. You want to show him the pack you show.
If he's not making tires down there in the factory, he'll gladly show you around the Cow Report studios. What's the tour take now, about 40, 45 minutes, Fred?
I don't know. I have no idea. I've never seen the place myself.
All right, well, Fred's a man of many words. Now, as you know, Fred has set up a little cottage industry down here, and he took over the tire factory when they closed, and of course there was plenty of equipment laying around. So what he did was he imported 10,000 rubber tees from Bengali, Upper Sahara, and he started growing them here. It's been now about 5 years, and these trees now have matured to where they're mature rubber trees. He's got one sample right there behind you. And these mature rubber trees, he takes and he boils the sap down out of them, and he makes rubber out of it. And then he goes into the whole process of making tires. So if you need a good set of Fred Stafford Deluxe white walls,
I don't have any, so he's just shooting off his mouth.
You just come on down here, and he'll show you the whole process from taking the rubber tree and grinding it down and getting that pulp out of it, boiling it down, and he does it all, the whole thing, from raw rubber tree to actually putting your car up on the lift and putting a set of brand new Fred Stafford Deluxes on there. 45 minutes tops, guaranteed, or the set's free. Right, Fred?
Yeah, like. I don't know what the hell you're trying to collect. I don't have anything to do with that.
And there you have it. That's another success story here.
That's another liar there.
1,500 families went down the tubes when this place closed, but Fred is slowly bringing it back by reintroducing the rubber tree into Wisconsin. after many years of being tardy. Okay, Freddie boy. As usual, boy oh boy, we got a lot to talk about. And tonight we're going to be taking calls from anybody who wants to talk about tomorrow's elections, who they're going to vote for, who they think's the best woman or man, and things of that nature. And we'll be trying to concentrate on the presidential race and races within Wisconsin and, of course, Eau Claire County and that pertain to this area. So if you have any interest in that, you can give us a call. And, of course, first of all, we want to tell you about our email. There's on the screen, you'll see our call phone number is 839-6261, and you can call that number. Hopefully we got that system up. Looks like I got a call on line 1, but I don't see Roy. It's ringing in there, Roy. All right, and then if you want to send email, our email address is cows@discover-net.net. Of course, we'll answer all your email, pro or con. And of course, Freddie, we got some email here that we didn't get to read, so we're going to read it tonight. The first one is, Chuck and Fred, we watch your show every time it's on, and we just love it. We think you should go to Hollywood and make a movie called Cow Report the Movie. Love always, Sue, Jim, Tanya, and Bob. So we got 4 loyal watchers out there, Fred, that think we're good enough to have our own movie. And of course, Freddie boy, each and every one of our shows is brought to you by
By what?
Flavin' Pop.
You can't talk anything commercial on this show, you know that.
And of course, you know, Fred, there's only 2 places in the world you can get
You
there.
can't get it there either.
Down there at the corner of Ferry and Menominee Street.
And they closed the place there. Closed that station.
And the other one is, the other place is Fine Funeral Homes everywhere. And we won't have to go into the reason why, but remember, Flavin' Pop builds strong bodies 12 ways. Okay, Freddie boy.
Build it even one way.
Have we sang the jingle lately, Fred?
You haven't sang it at all.
All right.
It's a good thing you didn't sing it.
Okay, then we'll just have to sing it then. Flavin' Pop, Flavin' Pop, I don't drink pop, drink.
Flavin' Slop,
Flavin' Pop,
Flavin' Slop,
the thinking man's drink. And it builds strong bodies 12 ways at Finer Funeral Homes everywhere. And of course, down at the corner of Ferry and Menominee.
They closed that place down there.
All right, Fred, and as you can see how well my finger's been healing up.
Yeah,
we like to show that on each show how
it's still healing up.
How well it's been healing.
Why don't you pull that thing off?
There you go. All right, the second letter, Freddie boy. And so how'd you enjoy your 11-day vacation there?
Well, I didn't really enjoy it, to be very truthful with you.
Yeah? Well, you look pretty chipper for having a stroke.
Well, I had a slight one.
Yeah? Are you back to normal now, or what?
Well, I'm back, but I going to go to the operational therapy tomorrow up at the hospital.
And what are they doing to you?
Well, I can find out when I get there.
Well, it was kind of on your right side, right?
Yes.
So they're working on your right hand and your right foot?
Well, they may be.
All right, well, I hear they're just working from the neck down. They said there's not much to work from neck up.
Right.
All right, well, number 2, Freddie boy. Fred, will you come to the Mall of America, and sign autographs? Signed, Jason.
I don't think so.
All right, well, there's one of your fans wanting you to come to the Mall of America and sign autographs. I know you're...
I'll come to the London Square Mall.
All right. Well, you know, Fred?
Yeah.
Being gone for 2 weeks, you got a lot of tires backed up. A lot of people got orders.
Yeah, I know that, and I don't have anything to do with any tires or...
If it wasn't for your vision many years ago to bring those rubber plants
Yeah, that's a lot of bull.
from Lower Silesia,
Yeah.
we would never be...
You never have any, and they don't have any now here either.
Eau Claire would be worse off if it wasn't for you bringing in those rubber trees and saving the tire plant for the many thousands of families, Fred.
Yeah.
All right, Freddie boy. Letter number 3. Roy, what's going on with that phone? Okay, we got a call on the air. We better take it here before we read letter number 3. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
I'd like to make a comment about your last show that you had live, because I think last week you weren't live. Firstly, you mentioned Lorraine Lee. Is that her name?
Yeah.
You mentioned that
There
she
she
was
is
waiting
right
for
there.
something to do with Social Security.
There's Lorraine Lee right there. You can't get much closer.
That's a really good picture. If they took the other camera from Fred and put it on there, it'd work better. I'd like to point out that Social Security was something created by socialists, and Eugene Debs ran 6 times somewhere between the late 1800s to the 1920s, taken by the Democrats in the 1960s. So the same thing of all the spending that you're against is going towards people who you love.
Yeah.
So how can you complain about something that's helping people you love, but yet Democrats, which are one step up from socialists, are the same thing as the people who you love are getting money from, the same ideas. And you're always worried about excess spending.
I don't know. It sounds too complicated to me, Fred. Could you follow that?
The man is talking about something that happened before my time, and I think he's right.
There's our beloved Lorraine Lee. And of course, she's got her famous sweatshirt on that says, "No bull, I'm conservative," giving the old 1960s peace sign. And of course, Lorraine was right on the front lines there, fighting for truth and justice back in the 60s. And you just can't get that hippie out of her, Fred. She's still giving the peace sign after all these years. Isn't that so wonderful? Lorraine the Truth Lee. And there she is. And of course, I think that poster is going to go on sale. We can't sell posters on the air, but I think that poster will be in all the finer stores this Christmas.
Including the one on Water Street that closed, huh?
Okay, Freddie. So there was no truth.
Menominee Street.
There wasn't no truth to the rumor that you were walking down the street with a...
No, there wasn't any truth. That's just the bull that you've been shoveling out here.
With a 30-pound carp over your shoulder in one hand and a spear gun in the other.
Yeah.
No truth to that.
No.
All right, I'm just checking that out.
I don't fish, right.
Okay.
Haven't fished in years.
Well, as you can see, we have Common's head well preserved. Now he's been on the show for, something like 6 weeks now, and his head is just perfect because it still has that one. There's one wire, Fred, that runs all the way from here to his house over in Altoona.
Yeah.
And to keep the lifeblood flowing to his brain. And through the modern era of TV, we can have Common's head here, and he can be at home watching the show with the rest of his body.
Yeah.
All right, letter number 3, Fred, off the email. Chuck, are you single or what? If you're single, I'd like to go out with you sometime. Here's my phone number. Call me. Sally. Of course, we won't give that phone number over the air. But yes, I am single, and I am very much available. I'm one of that one magazine wrote that I was one of the most eligible bachelors in Eau Claire County. So there you have it. And that's our letters for this week, Freddie boy.
Yeah.
Now, did we have that other call on yet, Roy? Okay, Roy says we have the call on. I'm sure you're all sick of watching all the advertising and stuff, so it's all going to be over tonight at midnight. I think pretty much they honor the television, radio honor that in this area, and newspapers, that there's no ads on Election Day, no radio, TV ads, or nothing like that of that nature. So tonight's it, folks. In about 2 hours and 45 minutes, all the propaganda's over with, and you'll be able to, you'll have a good night's sleep to let your head clear out.
And you see that?
And then go right into voting for all those excellent candidates tomorrow. And of course, Fred, there's a lot of candidates to vote for. And we got the sample ballot that came in the Eau Claire Leader telegram on, hey, you're going to have to close that door there now. We can't have all that running around in here. Keep the dogs and the cats and the cows out of here. This is a live show. All right. Tell you, Fred, some of your fans, you know, Fred, I've never seen so many groupies as you got.
Yeah.
All right. Did we take that call yet, Roy? Okay. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, Chuck.
Yeah.
I love the show.
Well, thank you. And Common thanks you.
So, what do you think about Ross Perot?
Well, Ross Perot is not a very intelligent person, and basically what he's in there for is, see, the bottom line is you vote for Perot, you're voting for Clinton. So why waste your vote on Perot?
Yeah, vote for Clinton.
If you're going to vote for Clinton, just vote for him and quit being embarrassed about it. Quit hiding behind the Perot front, because Perot is just in there to pull votes away from the Republican Party. So Perot has some good ideas, but most of them have been incorporated into the Republican Party for many years. So to vote for Perot or Howard Phillips or any of those other people except Ralph Nader, you can vote for him. Vote for Ralph Nader or vote for Bob Dole. And you're
How about the man who's running on the
Vote for Bob.
you know, the fellow.
You know, Fred.
So does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Say, is on your screen there at home, can you see the whole Loyal Order of the Moose, Raccoon sign there?
No, only half.
That's what I've been trying to tell these local yokels here, but they won't listen to me down here at
Yeah.
What a bunch of idiots.
Command Central. They got the thing all jacked around here. Half the signs cut off,
Jesus.
half the signs cut off on one end, Newt's cut off on the other.
Hey, I love that earring.
Yeah, thanks. I had that custom made.
Soda, huh?
I had that custom made down there.
That's sweet.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for calling in, and there's another fine example of educated youth in the Eau Claire area. And of course, Fred, as we broke the story here on the Cow Report many months ago, we told the viewers out there that the person who's responsible for all these bomb threats was a college student.
Yeah.
And he left for the summer, and now he's back, and now the bomb threats are starting again. But the bottom line is, and I hope you're watching tonight, and of course you can, my phone at home isn't bugged, so you can give me a call at home if you want me to negotiate a surrender for you. But the bottom line is, every time you do one of those bomb threats and they bring up the people from Fort McCoy, it costs several $1,000s, and it's just one or several more charges that will be placed against you when you are arrested. And right now the figures are up to over 100 years, so if you're in your 20s now, you're never going to see daylight. So just remember that when you get caught, that you're going to go to prison for many years, because it's cost several $100,000s to check all those supposedly pipe bombs out to see whether they're real or not. And it's cost a lot of manpower and detective power, and so when you get to court, they're going to throw the book at you. Big time. Real big time. So your only way out is to negotiate a surrender. Either that or leave town and never come back. But you eventually are going to get caught because one, they know you're a college student. Two, they know you're off the summer, so that dwindles it down, the number of students, because they can check through the records. And number three, you will get caught because the FBI is involved in it now because of the bomb threats, and also the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. So I guarantee you, you're going to slip up, and when you do, and when you get caught, you're going to do a minimum of 20 years hard time in prison. So what you need to think about doing is starting to negotiate a way out of this. And first of all, you need to stop doing the bomb threats and the bombs. And also, you're going to need a go-between. Now, if you want Fred or me, Fred's got a phone number in the phone book, or me, and we'll help negotiate a surrender for you and get this thing cleared up. But otherwise, when you do get caught, you're just piling on the years. And that college education is not going to do you anything because you're going to be making license plates for 20 years. So think about it. Now, Roy says we got a call. Are you there, caller?
Yes, I am.
All right.
You know, I'm kind of a fan of your show, and it's really great that you have this opportunity to let your views out and things. But I really, one thing that is always present in what I hear on your show is this distaste against college students and this distaste against public education in general. And I think
Listen, I'm a senior here at UW Eau Claire. My parents are in the public education system. Wisconsin has an awesome public education system from top to bottom, and I think that every time you trash that, which is what you do every time I have seen your show, it really bothers me.
Well, thank you very, very much. And of course, Fred, we know that in Wisconsin that the little old ladies and little old gentlemen out there are being taxed into poverty and taxed into the poorhouse, taxed into the nursing homes, out of their own homes by the very heavy tax burden in this state.
I know.
One of the highest in the nation.
I found that when I went around and ran for the city council. Many of the people who were living in the senior citizen apartments were forced out of their homes by the present tax system.
So basically, caller, it's not that we're against good quality education. It's against, what we're against is the very overburdensome tax load that is placed on our senior citizens and people in general. And I was trying to explain that on the last show about the taxing situation. I would rather have the 15% that Bob Dole's talking about taken, not taken out of my paycheck so that I see it every 2 weeks. I see it in my pocket so I can spend it the way I want, instead of letting the government dole it out to me like I'm in the 3rd grade and I'm at home and they're giving me my weekly allowance by dribbling it back to the states. So what's going on in this country is all 50 states are being robbed of their resources. This all goes to Washington, and then it's a Ponzi scheme, a redistribution of the wealth scheme. It's where the money's taken out of people's paychecks, and wherever any kind of wealth is created, it's taxed to death, roughly about 40%, and it's taken by the federal government, and then they redistribute it to illegal aliens and foreigners and to people that don't want to work, and to programs and environmental programs, and to the Department of Education, which doesn't teach one student, but is one of the biggest. The Department of Education is bigger than many countries in this world, just our United States Department of Education, and yet they don't teach one student one thing. It's just a big bureaucracy where they steal from every state, and the people who live in that state, the money goes to Washington, and then they dribble a little bit of it back to us, but most of it is given to foreigners and given to fighting wars halfway around the world, when it would be better spent bringing the troops home, putting them on the southern border, stop the flow of illegal aliens and drugs, which is on 2 fronts is destroying this nation. And so that's why I get a little irate about the tax situation. I'm not that upset about the educational situation, other than we have fat cats that are making $100,000 a year twiddling their thumbs in offices right here in Eau Claire, not doing a thing about education and not teaching one student. All they are is robbing the local taxpayers and elderly in this city and in this county, so that they can live high on the hog and play golf and take 4- and 5-week vacations, or sit around and argue about who's going to have the next day off. So there you have it.
Well, who's running?
It's the bureaucracy at the top, Fred, that's destroying the educational system. It's not the teachers in the trenches.
Yeah.
The teachers are not overpaid.
Okay.
All right, Freddie boy, we got a lot of people running for a lot of things. And of course, number one, we have the president and the vice presidential candidates of the United States. I have a sample ballot right here of if Roy Rogers Hoff is right there. There's a sample ballot for at least for the city of Eau Claire. A lot of names on there. This is just this top sectional here is people running for president and vice president. And you got the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, the Libertarian Party, the U.S. Taxpayers Party, the Reform Party, the Workers' World Party, the Socialist Workers' Party, the Wisconsin Greens, the Natural Law Party, and the Socialist Party of Wisconsin, Fred. Plus you got a write-in. So you got 2, 4, 6, 7 parties plus a space for a write-in for president just in the state of Wisconsin. Of course, on the Republicans seem to have first space all the way up and down. I don't know if they just flipped a coin for the whole ballot or what, but where there's a contested races, the Republicans are first on the ballot all the way down. So in the presidential, Freddie boy, we have Bob Dole and Jack Kemp.
You also have Howard Phillips and the taxpayers.
Wait a minute, Freddie.
Yes.
This is just the Republicans, Bob Dole, Jack Kemp. Then for the Democrats, you have Bill Clinton, Al Gore. This is in the order they are on the ballot. Then you have Harry Brown, Joe Jorgensen for Libertarian Party. Then for the Howard Phillips and Herbert Titus for U.S. Taxpayers Party. Then you got Ross Perot and Pat Choate for the Reform Party. And I've talked to Pat Choate before, Fred. He's a pretty nice guy, very intelligent. He was in, I think he was in the Nixon or Ford administration. He's an economist, knows his stuff about money. Then in Monica Moorhead and Gloria La Riva for the Workers' World Party. Then you got James Harris and Laura Garza for the Socialist Workers' Party. And you have good old Ralph Nader and Winona LaDuke for the Wisconsin Greens. And for the Transcendental Meditation folks at the Natural Law Party, you have John Hagelin and Vinton D. Tompkins. And then last but not least, you have Mary Cal Hollis and Eric Chester for the Socialist Party of Wisconsin. Now the thing is, Freddie, your vote won't be counted unless you're lying, Roy can get maybe a little bit closer here, but there's an arrow on your ballot, and you got to make sure that you connect the arrow. There's a space in the middle between the front of the arrow and the end of the arrow. You have to connect it on whoever you're voting for, or they're going to toss that ballot out and you won't get it counted. Or at least that, if you don't vote on for one race, it won't be counted for that race. So be mindful of that. And of course, they're expecting a turnout of roughly 80% here in Eau Claire County tomorrow, or at least in the city. Now, Freddie, who are you voting for president?
Howard Phillips.
There you hear it right here on the Cow Report Live. Fred Stafford wastes another vote. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Hello, Chuck.
Yeah.
I got an encouraging comment for you. According to Sunday, November 3rd edition of the Washington Times, it is stated that Bob Dole is pulled within 1.4 percentage points of Bill Clinton.
Is that on the internet or what?
No, well, I picked that up today at the Tommy Thompson press conference.
Oh, that's great. One point what?
1.4%.
Well, he's been saying that he's going to bring a comeback just like Harry Truman did in '48. Of course, Harry held up the headline. Fred remembers it well. He voted in that election in '48. Harry held up the banner and said, Dewey wins.
I voted for, I think it was General MacArthur or somebody else.
There you go again, Fred. Another wasted vote. You hear it right here, folks, on Public Access Live.
I didn't like...
2 wasted votes in Fred's lifetime. Well, anyway, Fred, you remember Dewey versus Truman.
Well, that's when I voted against...
They said Dewey'd won. And when Truman woke up the next day, he won.
Yeah.
And so anything can happen in politics. The tide has been turning just the last 5 days in Dole's favor, plus in the Republican House and Senate. And now it looks like the House and Senate are going to remain Republican and possibly pick up some seats so that they can override some of Clinton's vetoes if Clinton remains president.
Yes.
Now, was it you just saying, Fred, that it looks like Clinton is going to be indicted? Or was that somebody just called in?
I hope he's going to be indicted.
It was Ross Perot was saying that.
Yeah.
So, are you going to vote tomorrow?
Yep.
How many times?
How many times? Just once.
All right, that's great. If you're in Chicago, that's optional. But, so you want to tell us who you're voting for, or you want to tell us about any other races here locally?
Well, as you can guess, I'm going to vote Bob Dole.
All right. That's a good choice. Bob Dole, Jack Kemp, because thanks for calling in.
All right.
Because the thing is, Fred, if we, like Ross Perot said, if we re-elect Bill Clinton, the next year is going to be nothing but court battles, and they're going to be drawing up. It's going to be Watergate all over. And I attended those Watergate hearings just before Nixon resigned, and it wasn't a pretty picture out there. I remember driving to Washington.
That wasn't Watergate, was it?
Yeah, Watergate, the Watergate hearings.
Oh.
And this whole thing, they're saying now there's so much stuff about these illegal donations from these Indonesians and stuff that you could wipe out all the other rumors and innuendos about the Clintons And just this Indonesian money donations and money laundering and stuff is enough to bring his presidency down. And of course, you add onto that Paula Jones and the sexual lawsuit that's hanging in midair until after the elections. We could very well see Clinton in court for half a dozen things, and it looks like Hillary Clinton is just a few weeks away from being indicted. So it's not going to be a pretty picture, win, lose, or draw for the Clintons for the next year. And of course, there's quite a few people in their administration that already have been either sentenced to prison or under indictment or will be indicted, Fred. So it's,
but if he is reelected, he's going to pardon him.
Okay, Freddie. So now that you've aired your feelings about who you want to vote for, who do you think is going to win after you wasted your vote?
Clinton.
Well, that figures. That kind of tells me where you're really at philosophically. You're going to vote for Howard Phillips, but you want Clinton.
No, I don't want Clinton. I tell you, he's going to win.
Why?
Because, well, Bob Dole is another Clinton. He's voted for most of the Clinton program.
Now, Fred, do you see any correlation here between voting for Howard Phillips and Bill Clinton winning?
No. None.
You don't see where you're wasting your vote?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I think we got to do that. And
what do you think, caller?
Well, I think that Fred, he might be wasting his vote, but I think Bob Dole has a real good shot. But there's something I want to ask you, Chuck. I know we're maybe jumping ahead here a little bit, but how do you see the 93rd Assembly race between our current Assemblyman Rob Krybeck and Rich Postlewaite? Who do you support in that one, Chuck?
Okay, Rob Krybeck is the Republican. Rich Postlewaite is the Democrat. Well, I think, see, the toughest time for an incumbent is their first re-election bid. I mean, when they win their first time out, they got to come back in 2 years, and that's when they're usually knocked off, is that first time they run for re-election. Well, Krybeck has gotten over that hurdle now. I would say Krybeck's seat is safe for another 2 years.
Yeah, but there's some character questions that I've heard, just as being an independent voter that I am, I've heard a lot of character questions being risen about, Rob Krybeck and his divorce and some things that happened in Madison in his last term and some things that happened in his past that wouldn't be truly really along with the way that you think, Mr. Lee. I don't know how you can support a guy like that.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. What?
Well, there's some allegations. Well, I mean, Mr. Krybeck is going through divorce right now. There's also allegations of some misconduct down in Madison with some adultery and things like that. I just wanted you to know that, I don't.
Did you hear anything about that, Fred?
no, I haven't heard anything about it. I know about the divorce that is happening, but I rather like Rob
Well, in
Krybeck.
politics, it's kind of like being a lawyer. You got to be married to it, and it's not conducive.
I hear you rip on Bill Clinton. I hear you, bring people down for the same things that Rob Krybeck is alleged to do, which is the same things that you make allegations about Bill Clinton and a lot of other politicians on a weekly basis that you do on your show. And I just, you're kind of speaking from both sides of the mouth here.
Okay, now what else are these allegations about Krybeck? So far, you've said that maybe he committed adultery. Well,
what are the allegations against Clinton? You don't have positive proof, do you?
There's so much stuff on Clinton. It's going to take 20 years just to try it all.
I've heard so much stuff.
I got a four-page news release here from the Wall Street Journal today that I'm going to get in tonight. It'll take me 25 minutes just by the Wall Street Journal.
By who?
The editorial staff of the Wall Street Journal.
Okay.
And it tells just some of the things that Clinton has done since 1992, and it's 4 pages thick.
Find it in the Wall Street Journal. I dare you. Because I really have a problem with that, because the Wall Street Journal has been very pro-Clinton a lot of the time, because they're smart enough to know that the Bob Dole tax cut is suicide for the economy.
It's in today's Wall Street Journal if you've got the 75 cents to buy it. And it's called Wall Street Journal Editorial, 4 more years. It starts out in 1992, and it goes through probably 3 dozen different things here, all the way up to October, November of '96, that will be brought up against Clinton, or it tells about some of his staff that's been sent to prison, or I'll just give you a sample here, since we got this guy that thinks that Bill Clinton's a saint, Fred. January 20th, 1993, Bill Clinton is sworn in as president. In February, Webster Hubbell takes up office as White House liaison. In March, Attorney General Janet Reno makes unprecedented demand for immediate resignation of all U.S. attorneys. Okay, he wants some facts on the Clintons. Let's see here. Of course, sometimes it's the staff underneath the president, too, that the president's responsible for. And then in the Nixon era, it was the staff under him that did the dirty work, but Nixon's the one that had to resign.
You know, walking through the White House, Hillary Clinton, when she walked through, nobody could address her in the hall or anything like that. They had to get out of the hall and into another office or something until she passed.
Huh. Of course, they do have that air of being trying to be royalty, but you know, baby Doc Duvalier down in Haiti thought he was royalty until he snuck out of town and got on a plane and flew to France, where he's been hiding out ever since, after he sacked the Haitian banks and treasury and left the country in shambles, killing hundreds of people before he left. But of course here, May of 1994, Paula Corbin Jones filed suit against President Clinton, charging he sexually harassed her while he was governor. In June 94, Special Counsel Robert Fisk concludes that Vince Foster, was a suicide. And of course, Robert Fisk was replaced with Kenneth Starr, because Fisk was doing a fixed number on trying to hide some of the issues against the Clintons. Let's see here. Stephen Smith, a former aide to Governor Bill Clinton, pleads guilty to misusing a capital management loan and agrees to cooperate with a special prosecutor. All right. They've added on so many prosecutors to this thing, Fred. They're going in about 10 different directions with investigations. Some of them are in the middle, some are at the end, and some are still at the beginning. Now they're adding on the Filegate, where over 1,000 FBI files were requested from the FBI, taken to the White House, and Clinton and his cronies pawed through there, digging up dirt on over 1,000 people's files so that they could use it for blackmail or for raising money or for just using it against people. And of course, back in the Watergate days, Chuck Colson went to prison for 1 year for one file.
Yeah.
Got sentenced to 3 years. So in this case, there's about 3,000 years worth of sentences to be handed out on that 1,000 files that were illegally taken from the FBI and plugged into the White House computer's data bank. January 5th, 1996, the White House announces that Mrs. Clinton's Rose Law Firm billing records sought by the independent counsel and Congress for 2 years have been discovered on a table in the personal residence, leading to an appearance by Mrs. Clinton before a Whitewater grand jury. First time in the history of this country that a sitting president's wife had to go to a grand jury to testify. All right, I guess we got another call coming in. But getting to the end of the article here, which was 4 pages long, and it was in today's Wall Street Journal, called Wall Street Journal Editorial, 4 more years. And it starts out, I am the first president in history ever to have a special counsel involving activities that have nothing to do with my work as president. It all predated that, and that arose when there had not been a single solitary serious assertion that I had done anything illegal. But I said, fine, we'll look into it if it makes everybody feel better and to have more confidence. That was a news conference March 3rd, 1995. Okay, just going into the middle of 96 on June 5th, Filegate begins. Documents obtained after a long struggle by the House Government Reform and Oversight Committee reveal that the White House has improperly obtained confidential FBI background files on over 900 individuals. Independent counsel Kenneth Starr jurisdiction is broadened to cover Filegate. That's just one of over a half dozen different areas that they're investigating. Now, this was requested by Attorney General Janet Reno, who was appointed by President Clinton to get to the bottom of this Filegate. On June 25th, the Supreme Court agrees to hear President Clinton's procedural appeal in the Paula Jones harassment suit, effectively delaying trial until after the November election. In an appearance before a House Oversight Committee, White House Personal Security Chief Craig Livingston announces his resignation. Now, he was the security chief at the Clintons' request, spirited those 900 files out of the FBI offices into the White House.
He didn't really have any security experience either.
He was a bouncer at a nightclub. He used to knock people to the pavement and punch them in the face if they got rowdy in a bar.
We ought to tell people to get a hold of a copy of this book, Unlimited Access, by FBI agent Gary Aldrich. And that's an FBI agent inside the Clinton White House. And boy, there is, what shall we say, there's really some dirt in there.
Yeah, that's the book that the Clintons didn't want out before the election. There was some threats made, and there was some a lot of dirty work in the background trying to keep it off the press.
New York Times bestseller list for months.
Yeah, now this guy was an FBI agent inside the White House. And of course, the Clintons just said he's lying. That's what they say about everybody. Okay, July of 1996, the White House admits that in 1994, it set up a special drug testing program for employees who'd had a prior history of drug use. In August of 96, the White House turns over 2,000 pages of travel office files to avoid a contempt of Congress vote. And then Clinton advisor Dick Morris resigns after his relationship with prostitute Sherry Rollins is revealed. Now, the travel office files is where Hillary was dabbling in firing people illegally and then trying to give the travel office business to some of her crony buddies.
She did.
And so that's another whole different investigation where it looks like Hillary could be indicted for that. Okay, October, November, scandal over the Democratic fundraising activities of John Wong, formerly a Lippo executive. An illegal $250,000 Korean contribution is exposed, and once it's exposed, then the Democrats scramble and they return the $250,000 donation. But they kept it in their pocket until they were forced to by this here revelation. Al Gore says a fundraiser at a Buddhist temple was a community outreach event. An Indonesian gardener, now, since when did gardeners have $450,000 to donate to the Democratic National Committee? An Indonesian gardener, Fred, they're the ones that plant flowers in people's backyards, are usually illegal aliens. In California, it's mostly Mexicans. Well, in this case, he's an Indonesian gardener. Is reported to have given $450,000 to the Democratic National Committee, Fred. Just had it laying around there in the backyard there. And, you know, he works in his hands, he turns the soil, does an honest day's work planting flowers, and he had $450,000, an Indonesian gardener. Judge Lamberth sends federal marshals to serve a subpoena on Mr. Wong. This Mr. Wong that gave the $250,000 illegal donation was hiding from a subpoena by federal marshals. And he evades them for several days before appearing for a deposition. Then last Friday, Bill Clinton, seeking 4 more years, delivers a speech promising campaign finance reform. Now, of course, he got his finger caught in the till so many times.
Right.
He had to figure it out. But that's just maybe a third of these 4 pages of...
Unfortunately, I think he doesn't tell the truth often.
March 5th, 1994, White House counsel Bernard Nussbaum resigns. March 22nd, 1994, Patsy Thomason, White House Director of Administration and former associate of Arkansas drug convict Dan Lassiter, testifies to a congressional committee to explain delays in issuing White House passes. So it's just been a matter of stonewalling, which was, the word stonewalling was created during the Watergate era.
In this book here, they tell you that they were reluctant to be interviewed by the FBI for their passes and everything.
I know, Fred, it's just a den of rats. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, hi. I just find it amazing that if he's done all this stuff, he's not in prison.
if you're the president, I guarantee you can cover up a lot. Nixon did it.
Yeah.
Nixon got reelected, but it finally caught up with him.
But Dole, I mean, there's stuff on the Republican Party too that's not. I mean, if this was for Clinton, we'd be hearing all the dirt on Dole. You know, I just don't get it. And he wants to cut education and all this stuff. He wants to cut, and I think his age is against him, and I can't see voting for Dole at all.
Well, you know,
the Republican Party is pure as the wind-driven snows in the middle of December.
no, you know that's not true. Now, she talked about Clinton also wanted to cut, but didn't want to cut as much.
Yeah, Fred.
And that isn't explained to the people.
But Bob Dole is a man of his word. Bob Dole.
He is?
Yeah. Besides that,
And he voted for GATT and NAFTA.
Yeah,
Well,
Fred.
Lord,
Go ahead, caller down
Just
there.
send our jobs overseas.
So, what do you think about Ross Perot and how he would be running for running for presidency?
Okay, Ross Perot is kind of on the right track about jobs and about how industries have been closing up in the United States and going to Mexico and Taiwan, Indonesia, basically doing it because you can hire a Indonesian worker or a Chinese worker for 50 to 75 cents an hour, where in this country you're in the $6 to $10 an hour range. So to a manufacturer sitting here in Milwaukee or in Eau Claire and saying, gee, I can get my labor for 10% of what I'm paying now, and I don't have to do all that environmental baloney, and then I can import it back into the country and get special tariff regulations and all that stuff. It's cheaper for me to close down my factory here in Eau Claire and go over to Taiwan or to Indonesia or go to China and set up my factory right next to the local prison in China. And we get that free slave labor, and then the Chinese Army has got their finger in that tail over there, so you got to deal with the Chinese Army, the Red Army, and they take a cut out of all business in China. And they'll use soldiers, and they'll use slave labor, they use child labor at a few cents an hour to build these goods and then ship them back into this country and sell them on the shelves of Walmart and Shopko and Kmart and J.C. Penney's and Sears and just about every store in this nation. And if you don't believe me, go out to the store, go out to Walmart, try to buy a pair of American tennis shoes. Every pair I looked at said China, except one, Fred, and that said Poland.
Well, you look in Shopko, the same thing.
Okay, so there you have it. We're losing our industrial base to foreigners. So what you're getting in this country, in a nutshell, and this is what Perot is complaining about, this is what Pat Buchanan complained about, is when it comes to Americans' jobs, we have to protect the jobs, keep them in this country to keep our standard of living up where it belongs. Otherwise, we're going to be down there making $2 and $3 an hour, trying to compete against Chinese who are making 50 cents an hour. And that's where it'll get. So what we're doing in this country is we're exporting our industrial base and our good $15, $20, and $10 jobs, $10 an hour jobs. We're exporting those overseas, and we're importing a bunch of illegal aliens and legal aliens. They're coming in here and fighting for the jobs that are available. So what it does, it brings down the wage base for everybody. Because if you've got somebody coming in from Mexico that's used to working for $1 an hour, I guarantee you they'll gladly work for the minimum wage. And when they gladly work for the minimum wage, it puts pressure on you if you're making $10 an hour. They start looking at you and saying, gee, why should I pay him 10 when I can get these aliens to come into the Arcadia chicken factory down there, and I can pay them minimum wage, hide them on the third shift. None of them are legal, but the INS, they don't come and check the Arcadia broiler factory down there. So we'll put 50 to 75 illegal aliens from Mexico in there at minimum wage, and we'll knock off all them $7 and $8 an hour jobs. We'll send them people home. So that's what's happening. They're importing cheap labor and exporting all of our good jobs. Does that answer your question? Hello.
Yeah. Hi. I got a comment, and I'd like to know what you think about what I heard on a radio station. First off, how come Bill Clinton's highest percentage point throughout the whole 4 years of the election, or while he was president, was never above 45%,
And now, when he's running for president for a second term, all these polls show him at 51, 55, 60%. You know, I didn't see 60, but his highest percentage, his highest rating over the last 4 years never reached over 45%, and now all of a sudden it's over 50%. And now my last comment, and I'll hang up and listen to your answer or your opinion. Arm & Hammer, the communists back in the 30s, I believe it was. I'm not too certain.
Yeah, Fred knew him well. They used to chum around together.
I
over in
didn't
New York,
know him. I didn't know him, but I know about him.
Anyway.
Arm & Hammer gave Al Gore, the senior, gave him in his will the rights. Mr. Gore Senior used to work for.
I think he was a U.S. Senator or something at one time.
Yeah, he also used to like work for some petroleum company, and well, anyway, he inherited from Arm & Hammer a rights to the mining rights in the East Coast or the eastern states. Now, Al Gore Jr. had inherited this from his father. This is what I heard, and that was kind of interesting that Al Gore went out to the West Coast and closed down all those coal mines because of the EPA. I mean, this is something.
Yeah, so they'll eventually have to use his mining rights on the East Coast.
Yeah. Well, anyway, but I just wanted to look at 43.
Well, that's very interesting, but, you know, it could be very well true. I know Arm & Hammer had an open-door policy with the communists from 1917 until his death just a few years ago. He's one of the few Americans who could just come and go in the Kremlin or whatever.
Had the ability to land his own personal jet at the airport.
And he was also, his dealings in the areas of oil and minerals with the communists, I think Occidental Petroleum was the name of his company.
That's it, Occidental Petroleum.
It made him a multi-millionaire, and I don't know who's got control of that, but he was a friend of the communists from the beginning, Leon Trotsky and a whole bunch of them all the way up to Gorbachev.
Yeah, and he had the mineral rights for the eastern coal mines, and he got just like Kennedy, that fat bum from Massachusetts, gets Scotch royalties, and every single bottle of Scotch brought into America, they get a percentage of the sale. You know,
yeah, the Kennedys made their millions off the misery of alcoholics.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, hey, interesting beer can or whatever that is on your ear.
Yeah, you can get those out at the Mall of America. You'll see it. Well, you know, California is always a couple years ahead of us. And everybody on Sunset Strip and Hollywood Boulevard and all that, they're wearing these now, so it'll catch on here eventually. Okay, Freddie boy, so we better get down to some of these local elections.
Yeah.
We only got about 7 minutes left here. Let's get down to the county level. Well, let's get to one big race, the congressional race, 3rd District. I ran in that district. It's a big district, Fred, over 200 miles from north to south. It's a big race. James Harsdorf, Ron Kind. Of course, Hillary Clinton just came in last night for Ron Kind. It looks like he's inching ahead. Steve Gunderson refused to endorse Jim Harsdorf, so by being silent, he silently endorsed Ron Kind. Some of the same people that have campaigned for Ron Kind campaigned for Steve Gunderson 2 years ago, so kind of looks like Gunderson's fingerprints are on that Kind campaign.
For Ron Kind now.
Who is?
Some of them.
Well, what I'm saying is some of the same people, some of the same national figures that campaigned on both Republican and Democratic sides for Gunderson are in here campaigning for Ron Kind.
Even some of them is right, who are members of the Republican Party.
Democratic Party.
Yeah.
All right, so there you have it. James Harsdorf, Ron Kind. Who do you think's going to win, Freddie boy?
Harsdorf.
I thought you were going to vote for Howard Phillips there too. Okay, I'll tell you, it's very close. I campaigned that whole area for about a year, Fred. It's a tough one it's a tough nut to crack. There's a lot of Democrats. This is a presidential year. I am making a prediction. I predicted Ron Kind would get through the primary, and everybody laughed at me. Ron Kind won the primary. So I'm going with Ron Kind.
Well, I hope you're wrong.
Okay, the other congressional race for this area is the District 7, the old stalwart David Obey, Democrat, against Scott West, who we've had right here on this show before he started his campaign for this election. And how do you see that one, Freddie boy?
I like Scott West.
All right.
I know that Dave Obey is pro-homosexual, choice and so forth. So if
Okay.
you don't know right from wrong, why should you vote for him?
I'll tell you how this one's going to end up, Fred. I've looked at the Federal Election Commission money reports on West and Obie. Obie's got over $500,000 stashed away. He's spreading the money around, and a lot of walking around, a lot of Obie walking around money out there right now. Obie's going to win it because of the Democratic vote. West has to get stronger in the north. He's strong in the southern part of his district, weak in the north, the Superior area, and up in there, not Amory, but up farther north, where all the hunters go and stuff up in that area. It's kind of the wild area. Obie's got a lock on that area. Scott West is a good man, good campaigner. It's going to be a close one, but I think Obie's $500,000 to $600,000 edge in fundraising is probably going to put him over the top. Okay, we get down here to the county level, Fred. There's only one local race of any importance because the Republican Party in this area has fell down on the job. The Eau Claire County Republican Party, which claims about 700 members plus hangers-ons, cannot run one person for county clerk, for treasurer, for sheriff, for clerk of the circuit court, for register of deeds. They didn't run one person for those 5 seats. One man stepped forward and ran as a write-in. His name is Kramer. C-R-A-M-E-R. Kramer is his name. And that's how you got to spell it on the ballot, because it's a write-in. That's the only Republican running out of those 5 seats, Fred.
Yes.
It's a shame. It's ridiculous. That big of a party, one of the biggest Republican parties in the nation, for the county, for this size of a county, cannot run anybody for those 5 seats.
Chuck Schaefer is running up in Chippewa.
But that isn't a county seat. I'm talking about Eau Claire County.
I know it.
There's 5 county offices, and nobody's running on the
I
Republican
know that,
side.
yeah, well,
It's a blooming shame.
I know it. But we ought to see that, unfortunately, people up in Chippewa...
I'll take that back, Fred. There's 6 county offices. You add the district attorney's office in there, too.
One.
The Raymond Pellrine, the Republicans running there. But 5 seats. The Eau Claire Republican Party better go back to the drawing board and mend their fences and quit arguing about the little petty things and start running candidates. Do you know, Fred, that at one time in Eau Claire County, every one of those seats were held by by Republicans?
Yes.
And now it's flipped and it's the other way?
I know.
Okay, another race. Chuck Schaefer, Dave Plombaum.
Yeah.
Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, great public service you're doing there tonight, using that sample ballot. Somebody needs to show those right-wingers how to draw a straight line, and you're just the man who can do it.
Well, thank you. Someone has to do it. It's a hard, tough job. I pulled in Fred off the factory. He'd been making tires all day. Somebody had to come in here and talk about it.
I was just wondering, though, on the allegations, all the allegations with Kryvek and everyone.
Yeah, that's the first I've heard of them. You know, it's one way of just throwing some stuff out here at the end, but...
don't you have anything there on Gingrich and the GOPAC money?
I don't think Gingrich is running in this area. I think he's from a little congressional...
I mean, as long as we're looking at dirt here, how about Gingrich refuses to submit papers they want, and he appears to be kind of dirty with GOPAC. Don't you have anything about Gingrich?
I saw a lovely GOPAC ad the other day where a woman walks in and sits on her groceries and says, you know, that 15% income tax reduction would look pretty good on my paycheck. That's why I'm voting Republican.
Yeah, that's another interesting thing.
That was a GOPAC ad.
That is an interesting thing. But you're really doing a good thing tonight, because... Are you there?
Yeah.
Oh, because those right-wingers do need someone to show them how to draw a straight line.
Okay, well, thank you. There we have... That guy was probably down at the Labor Temple, Fred. Belting down a few beers down there. You going down there after the show?
No.
All right, Chuck Schaefer, Dave Plombaum. Chuck Schaefer is the Republican, Dave Plombaum, the Democrat, the 68th Assembly District. How do you see that one, Freddie boy?
I like Chuck Schaefer.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Howard Phillips again. All right, I'll tell you. Plombaum's a scrapper, and Schaefer, that's a tough one to call, Fred. I'm going to say this one's an upset. Schaefer's going to win it.
I see,
Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Chuck, I don't know if you saw the paper on TV tonight, the Eau Claire paper endorsed Clinton. Did you see that or hear that? It was on national TV, Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
I heard that Rush was talking about it today.
Yep, Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and the news tonight, Eau Claire Telegram endorsed Clinton. Great paper. We need some competition.
Yep. Thanks for the call.
We need a paper, is right.
You know, they also endorsed Obie. Yeah, but they endorsed Harsdorf and Schaefer, too.
Yes.
So,
I think they endorsed Frederick, too.
See, Steve Gunderson has some influence over the Leader Telegram from some of the trash they print in there, so I think he had something to do with that because him and Hillary are good buddies, and he probably went down to the editorial staff and said, hey, we need to endorse Clinton. But who do you say, Fred? Is it going to be Dole or Clinton tomorrow night?
It's going to be, I think Clinton's going to win.
Well, there you have it. Is this the common man?
Yeah. I don't know if the Einstein poll see anything, but if it does, it's a Republican sweep.
All right, there you have it from the common man. We want to thank you for tuning in tonight. This has been a live program, copyrighted 1996. Roy Rogers Hoff, my rusty, trusty engineer, Fred the True Stafford.
And this book on the
right here at the tire factory. And if you need a set of tires, just come on down. Fred will make it for you. Thanks again. We'll see you right here next week on the Old Power Report. Adios, amigos and amigettes.